Gareth, as is tradition, we've gone away from tradition for the last couple of weeks, but let's get back to it, please. What have you been up to the last 7 days?
Well, I spent 4 days doing ungloved boxing, which we'll get into later on. Calling it ungloved to make it a slightly more sanitized mainstream view of what is actually knuckles and fists and bare knuckle boxing. Fascinating, and I'm sure we'll get into it a bit later on. Paulie Malignaggi coming back, and at the age of almost 45 next month, or 45 next month, doing an incredible job, but getting busted up and looking like his face looking like a road map of the north of England by the end of the fight against Tyler Goodjohn, on a night when we saw a guy called Marko Martinjak win a fourth divisional title. Brilliant Croatian fighter, as the history is, from Mirko Krokop and Filip Hrgovic and all these guys from Croatia. So I've been up there doing bare knuckle in Leeds. Yesterday I was with Fabio Wardley and Joseph Parker, and the rest of the days in between I've been trying to get in the gym and do some rowing and cycling. And I know you're a big gym guy, and we've shared a gym every now and again. And when this weather changes, you can't get out and cycle anymore. The running is like Charles Bronson early in the morning with the beanies on, and you feel like you're training for a movie or like a fight movie. So the change of climate is what I've really noticed in the last week. So I've been in and about the fight world. The launch of Chrissy Hind in the Pretenders podcast of her latest album has just come out. So I was a bit involved in that, which was very exciting. A bit like you've been doing lots of weird and wacky things as well. Into prisons in South Africa in recent weeks and all sorts. How's your week been?
My week's been busy as well. I've been speaking to Dr. Easy Adamu. He's the promoter that's putting on these events in Nigeria. So I've been speaking to him, and he's ideas for what he wants to achieve in the sport, especially in the next sort of 12 to 18 months. Obviously, they've got an event now planned and pushed for the 19th of December, which I think we're going to talk about. Cody's now on the card, Adelaide's on the card. So slowly but surely, I feel like the wheels are sort of starting to turn for big events. So I've been speaking to him about just things that we can improve. I don't want to just go there as a presenter. I want to help as much as possible, just to make sure that it looks good, because I think it's important that people watching from the US or the UK see something similar to what they're used to. So I've been helping him. I played a bit of poker yesterday in Manchester, which is very new to me, that world. Interesting characters in poker. So I'm learning that, which is fun. And now, just like you, I'm gearing up for what I think is going to be a really good atmosphere on Saturday.
Let me ask you about the poker. So was there anyone we know there you were playing against, or were they just verified poker players?
Verified poker players, but you do know Rory Jennings, right?
Of course I know Rory, your sparring partner. When I'm driving in the evening, I enjoy the sword fencing, you and him, actually, the repartee, because you and I see a lot of things eye to eye with boxing. We're generally in the same highway, but you and he have some massive disagreements about football, don't you?
Massive, and it's worse on the poker table, because he tries to put me off. Yeah, because I'm very new, he's trying to put me off. It's all about, it's like, mind games and stuff, and he's trying to win the mind games, and he beats me, and I kind of can't control my temper with him. So I've been doing that, but it's been a week of sort of getting ready for this one, I think. And look, talking of that, you sort of, as you say, you spoke to both men yesterday. How are they both? I always kind of feel like we're now a few days away. You can start to kind of read the body language, pick up on things. How are both of them?
Yeah, it felt like early in the week that they'd been dragged out to do. It was just broadcasters yesterday, so, and a few of the YouTube channels. Umar Ahmed from Box Nation was there. Ring Magazine were there, and then DAZN, ourselves, and Queensbury. So it was, we were on the banks of the Thames on the north side, looking out over at the O2 Arena. Myself and Spencer Oliver were there for talkSPORT yesterday. I was digging into the past of Fabio Wardley a little bit for a big piece in the Telegraph tomorrow, about where he's come from. And the more I dig, He's a very cool customer, Fabio. You know, he's so softly spoken. He's quite a beautiful human being, as is Joseph Parker. Both very popular men. They're great to be around. They're very calm at this stage. That neither of them are given to huge outbursts of testosterone at their opponent. They both go to work when that bell rings. They flick the switch. There's an assuredness about Joseph Parker that I think is there, Addy, because he knows he's got vast experience compared to Fabio. And yet on the other side, Fabio is a bit like, this whole thing's been a bit of a roll of the dice. It's a 10-year journey. Look where I am. I'm pinching myself. What an opportunity. I've got nothing to lose, you know?
All right, let's hear from Joseph Parker first. Amongst many things, he opened up on having to remain patient for his world title shot.
I spent some mentions there. The rebuild. Obviously, you started with Andy Lee against Joe Joyce. Didn't go well on the night. I think it's 6 victories since then, or maybe even 8. 6 victories since then. But it's extraordinary momentum you created through the Deontay Wilder victory, which you were heralded for, then Zhilei Zhang, then Martin Bakole. Have you had to stay patient in not getting that big world title shot, even though you're the interim WBO champion at the moment?
We've been staying patient for a long time, and the goal was to fight for the championship of the world, and it was right there in front of us. And the 2 days before the fight, the ball got sick. Take it from us. But now the goal is still there, to be champion of the world for the second time, or unified undisputed. But the goal has changed now to just whoever's in front of me, I'm going to smash their face and move on.
In the last 48 hours, Oleksandr Usyk has come out and said that he's going to fight till he's 41, which for you, yeah, there you go. That's a lot.
Listen, he's a
Good news. Is that really good news that you are going to get your fight with Oleksandr Usyk?
No matter what, like, it depends. If Usyk wants that fight, if Usyk wants the winner of this fight, he'll take it. But everything is up to Usyk. So no matter what anyone says about promising the undisputed unification belt next, that doesn't matter. It's up to Usyk.
This fight is billed all or nothing, and the winner supposedly is meant to box Oleksandr Usyk, where your positions with the WBO interim champion, WBA interim on the line as well. Does that give you extra incentive, extra motivation, or is it just all about being active? Because Wardley's a dangerous guy. He's proven.
He is. He's dangerous, and he carries his power from the first round to the later rounds. But the goal is to be champion of the world. But now I just want to be involved in big fights and put on the best display that I can put on. I know that if I go out there and put on what I know I can put on, I'll beat every heavyweight out there.
You mentioned Usyk there. We'll get onto Usyk a bit later. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about Usyk now fighting for a couple of more years. Is there a part of you that almost feels sorry for Joseph Parker having to wait so long to get a big shot at a big fight? Don't get me wrong, this is a big fight Saturday, but obviously he's referring to Usyk there. Is there parts of you that feel sorry that he's almost been kind of left behind a little bit and he should have had that shot already?
No, because I think the rebuilds over... He's a very patient guy anyway, Joe. So I think what's happened to him sits with him okay. He's had a major rebuild in the last 7 fights with Andy Lee. Obviously they came together and he had the loss to Joe Joyce when he was knocked down in Manchester. But since then, they've rebuilt him physically, as he explains, with George Lockhart, the strength and conditioning guy, building him up. They built him up to 129 kilos at one point. He's about 8 or 9 kilos lighter now because he was going to face Zhang for a second time. The victory over Zhang showed something about Joe, where he could be knocked down twice in a fight and come back. The terror that Deontay Wilder still was when he defeated him showed Joe's self-belief in a game plan. The fact he could take Martin Bakole on at late notice showed him even stronger. I think mentally Joe is very strong. He's been a world champion. He's been in there with the very best. He's never going to fight Tyson Fury because they're too close, and Fury is never going to have that many fights now left in his career. And it's only Usyk he's really after. Maybe the Daniel Dubois fight has gone by the wayside now. Maybe it hasn't. We don't know yet. But really, Usyk and Caballero outside Fabio Wardley and maybe Itauma are probably the 3 or 4 fights that Joseph Parker's got left in his career. So he's got a great trainer in Andy Lee, who's a great psychologist, and I think he's in a very good place. And I've never seen anything other than patience from Joe, even going back to the days when he had his New Zealand team and was living and training in Las Vegas.
Do you? This is a difficult question, but of the heavyweights of this generation, so let's say the last decade, I think we have Usyk as number one now, right? I guess we have to have him as number one. Fury number two, and then maybe it's a toss up between AJ and Wilder. I'll say AJ. Where is Joseph Parker? Is he below Wilder? So the fifth. I mean, like, is it Andy Ruiz? Like, where is Joe of this generation of heavyweights? Is he a top five?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's above Andy Ruiz. I think he's also still ongoing in his career. I mean, the thing is about Joe, he was a world champion nearly 10 years ago. So he was a very young world champion, and he was incredibly mature even in his early 20s. So feels like he's been around forever. When it feels like he's older than 33, certainly. So, I mean, when you 100%. Think Fabio's 30 and Joe's 33, and it feels like Fabio's only been around 5 minutes, yet Joe's been around forever. I think if he can get a win over Fabio and a win over Ajit Kabayel, he's obviously got the loss to Anthony Joshua on that night when referee Cortesone didn't let them engage very much. It was a weird spectacle. The third man in the ring really was the third man in the ring all night, and he appeared far too much in the script. It's a really good question, Naddy. I don't know if we can, if he's still got the opportunity, hasn't he?
Yeah.
To beat Kabayel, to beat Wardley, and even to beat Oleksandr Usyk. People wouldn't perhaps see him as much of a favourite in that fight, but he's still got the potential to go out and do it.
All right, let's hear from his opponent, Fabio Wardley, who, again, the story of him just putting on gloves 10 years ago to where he is now on the cusp of a world title shot is a story that I think will be made into a movie in years to come. And he's spoken about that he's now happy that finally the pressure is off him heading into this one.
Nah, like public perception, outward looking, bookies and all of that. Look, they all have me as the underdog in this, which is, I think, quite refreshing for me, to be honest. I think it's been a long time where I've been kind of I've been on that end of the stick. So yeah, look, it's pressure off for me. I know myself, I know my skills, I know my abilities. I've done my study, and I know where Joe's got his weak points, and I'm looking to exploit those on Saturday night.
Fabio, I've got to ask you, how much did you learn from that Justice Hooney fight? Because again, it was probably one of his best performances in terms of the way he boxed, and you probably found it probably your most challenging fight. But then, of course, you just demonstrated that power that you've got. How much confidence did you take from that?
Yeah, look, it was. Justice Hooney is a great boxer and a very clean boxer across the board. Like, he's got very clear skills, good hands and feet, good movement. So he poses a lot of problems for me, and I'm sure a bunch of heavyweights that he's going to come up against. It just so happened, unluckily for me, I had to be the first one he chose to use all those skills on and try and display them. But yeah, look, on the night, it proved some different problems and different challenges. But I've said in the build-up to this, actually, looking back, it's done me the world of good because, say, look, I went through that fight, knocked him out in a round or two, got my hand raised, all great in the moment. But actually, going through a tougher fight, more challenging opponent, someone who exposes some flaws in me, gives me a chance afterwards to sit down with the team and go, actually, you know what, we need to clean up X, Y, Z in my game. Which takes me into this Joseph Parker fight, a well more rounded fighter with more skills.
Fabio, it's Adam here. Hi. Really, really excited about the fight at the weekend.
Hello, mate.
Hi. Do you believe that because of those rounds against Justice Hooney and the activity as well going into this, Joe hasn't had many rounds in the past couple of years. Do you think that's a real advantage for you to get set straight away?
Yeah, this is the thing. I think this probably adds to why the fight is so intriguing, because there is different points on both sides, and the most common thing obviously is Joe and his experience, but ultimately there's been a large period of inactivity for him, and we know, as you, especially as a boxing fan, know how dangerous that can be. I wasn't fighting that long ago. A Portman Road fight wasn't, in boxing terms, wasn't that long ago. And I've been very consistent over the last few years of making sure I'm getting out regularly and in top level competitive fights. So Look, I'm sharp as a razor. I'm ready to go.
I guess you can never really say the pressure's off, Gareth, but, you know, fights that he's gone into in recent times, Adelaide, Fraser Clark, Justice Hooney, he's either been 50-50 or the favourite. This time, people are seeing Joseph Parker as quite a big favourite, maybe like a 70-30 swing. So the pressure is off him, isn't there? I mean, he can go in there and just, you can never enjoy yourself, but he can go in there and just be Fabio Wardley. He doesn't need to try and do anything else.
Well, boxing has come at exactly the right time for him, and the resonance and the growth, that mushroom growth, that spurting mushroom growth with Saudi Arabia and Turkey al-Sheikh coming in and embellishing and enhancing the heavyweight division, both in terms of its perception and its payment over the last 2 years. It's 2 years since Turkey came. It's
Crazy.
October the 28th is 2023 was Battle of the Baddest. Obviously, they came in from around the August time, but it's 27 months. Look what's happened in that time. Feels like half.
What's the best one? What's the best event?
I did enjoy Knockout Chaos.
Knockout Chaos. What was that? Ngannou.
Joshua
was that?
Ngannou. Oh God, I can't even remember. There were so many now. I'm going to look it up.
There's been a few big ones.
Knockout.
There's been a few big ones. No, it's a very good. I think look it up because there's been so many enormous events.
Right, here we
Enormous.
go. Joshua Ngannou.
I think I was. Go on. What was on that card?
Joshua Ngannou, Zhile Zhang, Joseph Parker, Ray Vargas and Nick Ball.
Good fight.
Israel Madrimov and Magomedov Kurbanov.
Wow, I forgot about that.
Justice Hooney and Kevin Lorena. Mark Chamberlain, Gavin Gwynn. That was a big night because it was really big for Anthony Joshua that night. Even though because if you compared what happened to Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury.
Yeah, there's been some massive. I think the 5 versus 5 was really good. You know, I could even go back to the first one.
Yeah.
I think the first one was so exciting. It was so different. The Fury and Ngannou one, and the fight kind of was crazy and different as well. Sorry, I digress.
No, I
just
love
wanted
it.
to get your thoughts on
Battle of the
the
Baddest.
Battle of the Baddest. That's what it was called, wasn't it? Battle of the Baddest. Feels like about 5 years ago.
It does feel like 5
honestly,
years ago. Yeah.
Incredible. So you were saying, like, Fabio Wardley, you're right. He's come at a right time when money's big and opportunities are big and fights are being made.
Yeah, and also you go back beyond the fights you just mentioned for Fabio, and you go to Nathan Gorman. Remember being at that one at I think it was at Wembley Arena or the OVO Arena, and I can remember thinking, I wonder how Fabio's going to do against Nathan Gorman. He came out then in an exciting round. I think it was about 4 rounds the fight went. It was so brutal. He was cut on the nose for the first time that we saw that bad cut that his nose develops. And that's something we can get into for Parker to aim at is the cut, is that nose that always seems to go. That every time he stepped up, then he had the headliner against the O2 in the last time there was a really big fight at the O2 Arena last April against Fraser Clark, and what was one of the fights of the year. He stepped up in Saudi with an incredible knockout. He came back and escaped with victory from the jaws of defeat against Justice Hooney, showing the resilience and belief in himself to be able to find the punch. He's from white-collar boxing, 25 fights overall in his career, undefeated as a pro. He's gone the traditional route in some ways as well. He's won English, Commonwealth and British, which people forget about. I mean, it's a Cinderella Man story. Didn't take up boxing till he was 20. I was speaking to Rob Hodgkins, his coach from Suffolk Punch, from the Ipswich gym yesterday, and he said this tall, lanky kid walked in at the age of 20, stepped in and just wanted to fight everyone straight away and have a go at it. And he talked to Fabio about it. He'd never boxed before in his life. He'd had a couple of dust-ups. He'd played football. He'd been on the academy at Ipswich in his early teens. It's a fairy tale story, isn't it?
How much of a chance, realistically, so putting aside the fact that we know both and both are nice guys and two of the nicest guys you're going to meet in the heavyweight division, in boxing in general, How much of a chance in percentage do you give Fabio?
A very, very big puncher's chance. And if he can stay in there and not take too many punches till later in the fight and actually give a little bit back as well, and maybe even hurt Joe now and again, if he's there late in the fight, he's got a great chance. I am picking Joseph Parker. It's difficult to pick against Joe in this one based on his size now, his boxing ability, the fact he's had over 100 fights in his career, that he's been there before, that he knows about the big occasion, and all the stuff we've talked about with Joe over the last 6 fights and what he's done and how he's shown himself. I think it's a 70-30 fight, 75-25 fight. You know, how do you see it, Eddie?
You've got to go with Joe. You have to. Just the experience alone. My one concern, Gareth, for Joe is that Joe has fought 4 minutes of boxing in 15 months.
Good point.
4 minutes.
Good point.
Yeah, in 15 months. And the best Joe we saw, and you just mentioned sort of the turn where he's kind of reinvented himself, was the Joseph Parker that started with Andy Lee and then had, I think, 5 fights in a year and a half. It was boom, boom, boom. It was very, very quick. And then he started to get better and better and better. And was like, okay, this is the new rebirth of Joseph Parker. That's all been put on pause because he's just not had any fights. He's not been active. Where he's fighting someone that is active, and it's just gone 12 rounds. So my concern is this new size of Joseph Parker. I know he's slimmed down a little bit, but he's still a big boy. Is that used to kind of bouncing around a ring for 12 rounds? It isn't. So I give Fabio a good chance, but Joseph Parker the favourite, yes.
Yeah, like you say, March 12 rounds in majority decision win. I thought a very close fight with Zhilei Zhang, by the way, March 2024. But you speak to George Lockhart and Andy Lee, in spite of because they built him. I'm sure I've mentioned this before. They built him from the calves to the thighs, to the glutes, to his back, to his arms, to his wrists, to his neck. They built him up to 129 kilos because they thought he was going to fight Zhilei Zhang again. They brought him back down again. Even at his heaviest, he could still run for 90 minutes. And that was on his day off he was running. I did a big breakdown of this in the Telegraph newspaper, and before his last fight, I spoke about it a lot on talkSPORT. He seems to have been able to. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He lives very well. He's in the. I think as a heavyweight, he's in his absolute prime right now. But the caveat, as you rightly say, could there be some ring rust there? Could there be some ring rust? And Fabio has shown that with one big punch, just a little opening in the door, he can find you and he can find your chin and he can put you away. I think what Joe will do is box him. He's got that great 1-2. He's got a great jab. He's got strength to hold. He won't be throwing that big overhand right early on, in my view. They'll have a concerted game plan. But in the other corner is Ben Davison and Lee Wiley. They will have a plan because they're always... Yeah. Davison's always a man with a plan. Lee Wiley's a man with a plan. So it's fascinating. And it's one step away for both men, seemingly, for that fight with Oleksandr Usyk next.
Very big for Andy Lee as well. You mentioned Ben Davison and Lee Wiley. Obviously, look, I think we all love what Andy Lee's doing. I think many consider him one of the best trainers, if not the best trainer over here right now. But Paddy Donovan obviously suffered defeat against Lewis Crocker. He walked into that fight as a favourite. And now he's got his main charge, if you like, and Joseph Parker going in as a favourite as well. It'll be very difficult and a bit of a blow if Andy Lee takes back-to-back defeats with 2 favourites going into fights as well. So big fight for Joseph Parker, big fight, I think, for the great Andy Lee.
Yeah, it is. It's a really big fight. Look, it's number 3 in the world on the Ring Magazine rankings right now. They say he's 2, but they have Usyk at 1 and obviously Fury as champion. But in the lineup, it's number 3 versus number 7, and I agree with that. It's a really, really big fight. And it's gone under the radar a little bit till this week. And in a way, I wanted it to go in opposition initially against Fraser Clark and Jamie TKV. And I know we'll come to Fraser a little later in the show, but I kind of wanted them to go head-to-head this week because it was kind of fascinating. But maybe it's better that we get this fight in November with with Fraser and Jamie.
All right, Oleksandr Usyk has confirmed he has no plans to retire. Some were suggesting that maybe Oleksandr Usyk hang up the gloves. He's achieved everything you can achieve, right? Undisputed at cruiserweight, undisputed at heavyweight, all the amateur pedigree as well. Would have made loads of money in the last few years, but he will continue fighting until he's at least 41. The undisputed champ said he's not going to be fighting Moses Itauma next, but did not confirm who he intends to return against. Earlier this week, his manager, Igor Kilmes, spoke exclusively to talkSPORT and said he's delighted his fighter is continuing.
A touch of boxing for you, because this took a few people by surprise, but now at least we know. Oleksandr Usyk, what did he do last time out? He demolished Daniel Dubois. He's pretty much taken care of everybody who has stood in front of him. So it begged the question, Oleksandr Usyk, does retirement beckon? Absolutely not. 2 more years of Oleksandr Usyk, 2 more years of him fighting, and no doubt carrying on where he left off. Earlier on this morning, I spoke to Igor Kilmes, his manager, and I said to him, how do you feel about a couple more years of Oleksandr in the ring?
I'm very pleased on his decision. He wants to stay busy, and he wants to, to keep boxing in this position. And that's his decision. He feels like he has a lot left in him. And as he said in the last fight, after the last fight, he said, this is just the beginning.
Did he ever consider retirement, Igis? Was that ever on the cards?
I never heard from him where I am tired, I don't have motivation, I don't want to do this no more. He was always for continuing in this sport.
Tyson Fury has asked to fight him again. Does Oleksandr want that? Do you want that?
I don't know. We have to see in a situation what is available, and he already won against Fury 2 times. His fans want it. That's the question would be, not to me. That question would be to fans. Can they sell a stadium? Well, we don't know. And Tyson Fury said he wants to fight. Does he really wants to fight? My guy is ready. He's training. He said he's retired. Tyson, we never know. He goes in retirement. He comes back from retirement. He wants to fight again. Then the next day he doesn't want to fight. We really don't know. We're just going to be continuing what is for sure, what is for real.
I know what you think of your man and your fighter, Igis. Is there anybody out there who could beat Oleksandr Usyk?
It's boxing. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. But as his stamina, as his IQ boxing, as his movement, as his thinking in the fight, I don't think nobody is there as now.
Igor Kilmes there speaking to talkSPORT. What'd you make of it, Gareth? Into his 40s?
No, I love it.
Do you, yeah? You happy with it?
Well, I mean, I love the fact we've heard from him, Eddie, and Igor Kilmes is always on the money with. He doesn't say a lot, Egis, but if he is, and I think as he said in the interview with Jim White, that Jim got hold of him before he was getting on a plane, that on a flight, that there hasn't been a lot of talk about who he's fighting next. He's just been enjoying his life, but he's finally come out of his burrow now, and we know that he is probably keen to get in camp again. He's had that back injury that he talked about. He got the grace from the WBO. I know, everyone's given him his pass on this. We want to see him back. He's not acquiescing to Tyson Fury third fight. It looks like he will fight the winner of. He's saying he'll fight the winner of Parker and Wardley. How big those events are, I don't know. They won't be as big as the last fights he's had. Just naturally, they won't be big as the Fury fights. But I just think it's great to hear that he's got the appetite to go for another 24 months till he's what is it, 2027? January 2027, I think he'll be 41. So, January 2028,
yes.
Sorry.
2028.
So it really elongates the division. And I do think if he's boxing till then, he will end up fighting Moses Itauma.
I like the fact he's taken time. Like he doesn't have to rush to give us a decision. He's had this fight with Daniel Dubois, and he's like, okay, let me enjoy my life. One thing he always says that every time he's in camp, he leaves the family alone, which can't be easy for boxers. And now it's a case of, okay, I've had my family time. I'm getting itchy knuckles again. Let's do this. Who's up next? I guess the issue is, who is the obvious up next, as you mentioned? If it is the winner of Parker Wardley, it's still massive fights. I don't know. Okay, question. Is Joseph Parker Usyk a stadium fight? Let's just say it's Parker. Is that a stadium fight over here?
I think it is.
Okay, cool. So it's still a big fight then. Still a big fight.
Joseph's almost like an adopted British fighter these days, isn't he? And people love Oleksandr Usyk. I do think it works. It may not do 100,000 or 95,000 at Wembley, but I could see it doing 40,000, 50,000. If you can get 40, 50,000 there, do you go to Spurs? Do you go somewhere else?
Yeah.
Do you go to Saudi with
I guess
it?
the same, probably. I guess the same can be applied to Wardley. Wardley got 20,000. We were there in the pouring rain for Justice Hooney. So if Wardley can get 20,000 for Justice Hooney, I guess you could maybe apply the same logic to that Wardley versus Usyk could do 50,000.
Yeah, Wardley versus Usyk in Ipswich. That would be a turn up for the books, wouldn't it? Tickets like gold dust. So the we've got greedy. We've got greedy with big stadium fights. I mean, only in America are they capable of doing this with the likes of Canelo. Maybe with Terence Crawford now that he's become a crossover star. Maybe with Ryan Garcia and some of his opponents, the Tank Davises of this world, and Shakur and Tio Lopez. But right now, the biggest news is that Usyk has the willingness to go on, and I think it's good. I'm not sure he's going to face Tyson Fury next for a third time, because I think Usyk wants to do the generic route, which is to defend the belts against the next number one. And hopefully, if we get an Ajit Kabayel fight in January as well, or February, which we're hearing about, I'm hearing certain names being thrown towards him. Maybe when he wins, or if he wins, we get the next opponent for Oleksandr Usyk into next year as well. Because really, if Joseph Parker wins and Ajit Kabayel wins, I think those are the next two opponents for him if he beats Parker.
Yeah, look, we were both there for the Fury fights, and they were good fights, fun fights, close as well. A couple of them on the scorecards, at least a couple of the scorecards. But I've seen it twice, and I would almost like for when Usyk's done to see other names. I don't want to see Fury 3 times and AJ 3. I'd like to see a mix of other names, and I do think it's fair that there is some sort of list where the next man up, as opposed to people jumping the queue, so to speak. And I think Kabayel and Parker and Wardley and others deserve a shot if Usyk is going to hang on until 41. Will we see then? I mean, is it inevitable that we will see Itauma versus Usyk?
Yeah, I do think so if he goes on to 41, and I do think Moses will take over. One of the things I want to raise is the ludicrous comment by Max Kellerman this week on the Ring Magazine. Is it called the Ring Magazine boxing show?
I think it's Inside the Ring, I think.
It was way outside the ring, that comment, frankly, that Usyk's resume is a little thin. I understand where he's coming from, but it's absolute nonsense because Usyk is a modern great and he's an all-time great. There's no question about it. He's beaten Joshua twice. He's beaten Dubois twice. He's beaten Tyson Fury twice. I believe he would beat Joseph Parker and Ajit Kabayel as well. That will play out in time. Yes, sometimes you can compare it to, you look at the incredible Evander Holyfield career, Mike Tyson twice, Riddick Bowe 3 times, Lennox Lewis twice, and many others who he fought, of course. But Usyk has stepped up from dominating the cruiserweight division like Evander did, but he is worthy. You look at him stylistically, you look what he's capable of, you look what he's been up against, you look how he adapts and he adopts in fights. I'm sorry, he bears comparison with any era, and I thought Kellerman's comments were not absurd, but they were. I was very surprised by them.
Yeah, he was trying to find an angle to somehow sort of put
Criticise the
down
era.
the achievements. Yeah, and I'm like, well, no, it's almost as though, yeah, but he's fought AJ twice, as though that counts for one win. No, he's beat AJ twice. He's beat Fury twice. If anything, it's harder to go around against those guys again because they're now more motivated and they've shared the ring with you and they now feel that they can work you out. And he's still been able to beat them all twice. So, yeah, I thought it was a bit bad on Max's part, especially considering what Max knows about the sport. So yeah, I completely agree with you. We mentioned Moses there. Obviously, Moses is at least penciled in for a December 13th card alongside Chisora. I want to get to Chisora first. We can get to Moses a bit later because opponents seem to be running out for Moses, but Chisora has been linked with several different opponents. Dillian White, Jarrell Miller. What's the latest on Chisora on this 50th, maybe final fight?
Yeah, as the chief support on that card in Manchester, headlined by Moses.
Sorry, Gareth, would he accept that? Would he accept chief support to Moses?
Oh, I think he has to.
Okay.
I think he has to. And I don't think he might, but he's probably chief support, but probably chief ticket seller as well.
Yes, this is why I asked the question. Because he knows who the tickets are being bought for. And it's probably 80% Chisora. And I'm wondering, would he accept not being main event? And what is his potentially final fight to a 20-year-old?
Well, I think Derek is very fulsome in his praise of Moses Itauma. He knows how brilliant he is. Derek knows his boxing inside out. And, he produces some amazing opinions on the sport as well. I was hearing until yesterday when David Haye came out and said that it was Dillian White for his last and 50th fight, that it was Jarrell Miller who was going to be the opponent in December at the Co-op Live, so in Manchester. But either of those works. I kind of prefer Jarrell Miller for the build-up with Derek because I think it will be hot stuff. But if it's Dillian White...
So would Dillian.
Yeah, but it's so would Dillian as well, and we know what happened when those two fought the first time in Manchester. I think it was the first time where the tables and the microphones and the bottles and plastic bottles and everything were thrown in the room in front of a live audience. So we shall see, but either of those is fitting. I personally like to see Jarrell Miller against him.
Yeah, is there a fear with Miller because his last few fights, and look, it's not his fault. I think a lot's down to promotional situations, but his last 3 fights just haven't happened. He was supposed to fight Chisora. He was supposed to fight Wardley. He was supposed to fight Michael Hunter. I mean, is there this danger of booking him and all of a sudden it just doesn't work out?
There is, well, it wasn't his fault that he didn't fight in on the undercard of Canelo and Crawford. Remember, that was a lawsuit issued by Don King over Michael Hunter at the time that he was under contract, and it all fell apart, of course. There's always a risk, but his value. I'm notwithstanding what happened in 2019 with the drugs case and Anthony Joshua that still overshadows his career. I was standing between those two at the IBA, International Boxing Association symposium and fights in Istanbul, Turkey, a couple of months back, where they had a row over a little coffee table when the media suddenly came over and Shannon Briggs was acting as referee. So explosive. The chemistry between the pair is unbelievable. And then I interviewed them both for talkSPORT. And the thing is about Derek and Jarrell, they are really big human beings. Heavyweights are big people, but they've got a big presence about them, the pair of them. And they went back and forth, and I just thought, this fight's being made here right now. So hopefully it happens. I drove up to Bare Knuckle in Leeds last week thinking that fight was going to be announced this week. And we hear that Moses' opponent will be announced this week. Last night, I was hearing that it could be announced in the next day or so, even though they want it to be Kubrat Pulev, and they're contesting the fact that the WBA are saying that he should defend the regular title against Moses.
Yeah, we hope it's a big Moses opponent because in recent weeks, there was talk of David Adeleye. He's not fighting him. There was talks of Kubrat Pulev. Looks like that's going to be Gassiev. There's talks of Michael Hunter. It looks like he's going to have a fight in York Hall in a couple of weeks' time. So, sorry, in early December. So all the opponents seem to be either pricing themselves out or going by the wayside. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with Moses. What's going to happen with Fraser Clark? Fraser Clark versus Jimmy TKV was supposed to happen this Saturday, October 25th on BBC. It has been postponed. Fraser Clark not happy at all. Before we get into it, let's hear from the big man. This is Fraser Clark.
Frank, let's talk about you. You must be choked, pissed off, gutted that the TKV fight was postponed.
Pissed off, mate.
Yeah.
You've done your training camp. I've invested heavily in this training camp because this is a very important fight for me. And despite what everyone thinks, because the boxing world, everyone talks, and despite what everyone thinks about the fact that Joseph Parker and Fabio Wardley are on the same date, and for whatever reason this fight's happening, I couldn't care about the other show on this day. Guess what I care about? Fighting, winning the British title, and getting paid. And now that's been moved back a few weeks, which isn't the end of the world, but now I've had to have a little bit of a break, a little pause in my training, a little bit of an easier week this week, and we'll ramp it up again from next week. It's just not ideal, but then again, injuries happen, don't they? If it is an injury.
And it's not an easy thing to do,
you got a doubt
is it?
about that? No, there's no doubt about that. Why? If he's going to fight you in 2 weeks, he's going to fight you in 2 weeks, isn't he?
Well...
What? Get it off your chest.
I had a letter. I was seeing that doctor's letter saying that he can't fight the 25th, but can commence training the 27th. Now, if you commence training the 27th, and we're going to fight 4 weeks after that, so you're telling me you're having... I found this out early last week. You're having 2 weeks off now.
What was the injury, by the way? What did he pull out
I think something to do with the rib, so I heard.
Okay.
Yeah, so... And that made me suspicious as well. A rib injury. You can have some time off now, then come back 2 weeks, and 2 weeks training for a British title fight. I wouldn't say that would be great preparation. Or is it the fact that Ben Davison can't be there because he's going to be with Fabio Wardley? Does he need his hand holding by Ben Davison? I don't know.
What do you think to that, Paul?
Got a point? Listen, I don't know. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's not for me to say. You'll have to believe whatever excuse, whatever valid reason, whether it be valid or not. Only they will know. But
Makes no difference.
It's all part and parcel of the game.
Yeah,
it's I know. And
It's
the
not
worst
ideal
feeling
going
when you're not
head-to-head with
fighting.
another big heavyweight clash for sure.
That's not my
It's
problem.
not your problem. That's what I was going to say. And what I wanted to say is...
What do you think, though, Fraser, though, given the fact that, scheduling fight dates and having them clash is a ball ache, isn't it? Because you want to be you're on terrestrial TV.
Yeah.
You don't really want Fabio Wardley and Joseph Parker fighting on the same night, do you?
Not really.
I know you can't control that.
Not really, Simon, but at the same time, Fraser Clark is fighting for the British title on this day. He's getting paid that much. That doesn't change. That doesn't change. That doesn't change whether... Obviously, it'd be fantastic to have more eyes on me.
But it detracts from the attention that you get, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course it does.
So is it something you talk to your promoters about? Would you say to your promoter, if you can possibly help it, schedule me where I can be a standalone rather than... And also...
I mean, we could have done it on the Friday. I've boxed on a Sunday before. We could have done it on the Friday. There's lots of questions, do you know what I mean? But basically, I want to fight, and that's the top one. As a fighter, I'm not interested in too much of why it's not. These people sit there in suits and behind desks, and they get paid a lot of money to sort these things out.
Fraser Clark there speaking on Talk Boxing, and you hear it there, Gareth. He's basically saying, look, he's seen the injury report, which is good. It means there is an injury, so the conspiracy theorists can stop. But he's basically saying that injury report suggests that Jimmy TKV is able to train again in 4 weeks. So how bad was the injury? I mean, what? Shows there was an injury. I mean, fighters, we know, go into the ring with injuries all the time, but it shows that there was a legit injury. So he can't be that upset, Fraser Clark. I know he's disappointed. He wants to fight. He wants to stay busy. But if Jimmy TKV's injured, he's injured. What can we do?
Yeah, I mean, it's just Fraser being very unhappy about the fact he's put a camp in and he was looking forward to probably going head-to-head on a free platform on the BBC on prime time. I think it was on BBC Two it was going to be, wasn't it? After Match of the Day. Or before Match of the Day, or whatever they were going to do. Certainly the main event was going to be between 9 and 10 because Ben Shalom, the promoter, had said they weren't going to directly conflict in terms of timings and schedule with Wardley, Clark and Parker and Wardley. So, yeah, I mean, of course he's unhappy. He wants to get in there and get into action. Fraser Clark's got no time to lose. You know, he needs to push on with his career. I mean, it's an extraordinary turnaround since he had his face disfigured by Fabio Wardley out in Saudi Arabia. But November the 29th, I understand the fight will be now. I was looking forward, weirdly, in a kind of vicarious way, of the two things going head to head. And, were the BBC making a mistake? Was this direct opposition from Ben Shalom going up against Queensberry, DAZN, and Frank and George Warren? I kind of liked the soup, the kind of poison in the soup, if you like, this week. So, but it will be good on its own as a standalone. Fraser Clark's still an element in the heavyweight division. And Jamie TKV, with that extraordinary backstory, African backstory, with Mobutu and all these things that will come out later on, the Zairian story, Congo, will be fascinating as well. I think we are alive in the heavyweight division, even though, as we've shown on the show today, there's a feeling that there's slight fracturing in the heavyweight division at the moment, if I'm not wrong.
No, you're right. There's a lot going on. Fighters don't seem to be... Oh. Sorry, Simon Jordan just called me. Let me quickly... Sorry, I'll pick up from there. Don't know why. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I think there's a lot going on in the heavyweight division. I almost feel like it's reaching a point where we're getting almost semi-finals everywhere.
Yeah.
And no finals.
Yeah, but we're getting quarterfinals and semi-finals, and we're not sure whether the final will actually take place or not. That's very well put.
Yeah, indeed. By the way, November 29th, the supposed new date, is the same day as Ben Whittaker-Gavazzi. So that's Ben Whittaker's fight debut on Matchroom and DAZN. That's November 29th. So clashes all over the place as well, which is never good. Let's start this final section by talking about this event that's been announced in Nigeria, Chaos in the Ring 2. There was one just a few weeks ago. This one, a lot bigger. It's going to be headlined by Lawrence Okoli. David Adeleye is involved. But crucially, this time round, Frank Warren and Queensberry are getting involved as well. They've almost given it the thumbs up, the green tick, which means I think this one's going to be a lot better. I think they're going to make sure this one's better as well. But we are now, and there's obviously, as you know, Gareth, rumours about an event in Ghana that Matchroom are going to put on the 20th, so the day after this one. So there's a lot going on right now in Africa.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant. The West African boxing resurgence is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Obviously, there have been a couple of very successful events already. You know more about it than I do. It's the motherland for you, of course, as well. And it's brilliant to see, because we're talking about two nations that are very physical people that have a sporting resonance, and it's not before time that these events start happening. And with Anthony Joshua, Dan Aziz, Lawrence Okoli, yourself, British friends of mine, people who are in the industry with me who have Nigerian heritage, all of you, it's brilliant to see you guys deeply involved in helping the resurgence of boxing in the old country. I won't go into, I know Nigeria. I've lived there in the past with my parents growing up. It's going to be massive when boxing takes off there. It's going to be absolutely enormous. So I just think it's brilliant what's happening. And the fact that Okoli, who signed with Queensberry now, is getting Queensberry and the Warrens involved in it, will only augment the event.
Indeed. Again, it's great to see. I think last time I was there, it was a stadium. I'd say there's around maybe 15 to 20,000. It was difficult. I was looking around and I was thinking, they're empty seats. Not really, but it's difficult to see. Hopefully something similar. And I love that Adelaye's there as well.
Adeleye as well. Sorry.
Okoli's,
yeah.
Yes, Adeleye. Okoli's a bit laid back, isn't he, Lawrence? But Adelaye's loud and boisterous. And I think the crowd are going to get really behind David Adeleye. I want to touch on the event that you covered, the bare knuckle event. I'm still and ahhing about bare knuckle. I know you're trying to take me to one. We haven't been to one yet. I haven't been cage side or ring side.
Trigon side.
Paulie.
Trigon side.
Was it? Okay, Trigon side. So yeah. Paulie fought in the main event, right, against Tyler Goodjohn, who's been doing it for a while, Tyler. I remember when he was, quote unquote, a real boxer, and he was actually pretty good, Tyler.
English
He's
champion.
now a very good
English champion.
He was, wasn't he?
English champion.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's now had way more success in bare knuckle. He's worldwide known for bare knuckle, and he fought someone in Paulie. I remember seeing you in the middle of the two, actually, when they were talking, and Paulie's like, I'm from Brooklyn, not the new Brooklyn, the old Brooklyn. And I was like, okay, this is going to be good. And the fight was good. Obviously, a lot of the talking points is after. I think a lot of people saw Paulie in a hospital in Leeds, basically complaining about why is he sitting here for so long? He's taking so long to get stitched up. And that didn't look good, did it? I mean, because he's been through a war. And I've seen fighters get stitched up ringside or back in the changing room, the locker room. So it kind of did baffle me that he went all the way to a hospital to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, he talked the talk in the build-up and he walked the walk in the actual fight. 5 3-minute rounds. He clung on. He won the first 3. I mean, I had it very, very close. The third round could have gone either way. It was a split decision. He was absolutely brilliant given he's 45 next month. He was in phenomenal shape. He showed all his skills. And like you say, he had his own complaints afterwards that he was still sitting in hospital, not being stitched up at 4 a.m. There will be reasons for that, I'm sure, and they will pick the bones over it. BKB won't be happy about the fact that he was unhappy because he also sits on the other side of the table with us in commentary on BKB. So that's something they'll need to look at. I think there was he brought a lot of eyes and a lot of perception shift to the sport. He brought a lot of royalty, British boxing royalty to the event. Carl Froch, Josh Warrington, the original Leeds Warrior was there. Tasha Jonas, I got to interview them all and ask them all if they would fancy a go themselves. And it's a very interesting point that you're kind of making in that, is this a bucket list thing now for a lot of boxers towards the end of their careers? Could we imagine Derek Chisora and Dillian White in a bare knuckle? I know, but can you imagine? Yeah, you'd watch it though, wouldn't you?
Yes.
You'd watch it. So yeah. I think the optics of that huge cut on his forehead, the bruising, I think Paulie's a very good talker, and I think he wasn't embellishing his injuries, but he was kind of putting out there, look what I've put on the line here. I was questioning him in the build-up. Are you kidding yourself coming back here? When I interviewed him post-fight, I said, was it worth it? He said, yeah, it was worth it to get something out of myself again. He's going to bear the scars forever from this. And he has scar tissue here and here from his boxing days. What will be telling is he signed a 3-fight deal. I wonder whether he'll actually fight again. He certainly won't fight for another 6 months because he's going to need all those cuts to heal up.
Yeah, I almost feel like it was a big scratch that needed to be itched. And I think he's itched it enough now. Again, it was a case of, can I do this at my age against a younger kid who, Tyler Goodjohn's not exactly a spring chicken himself, but he's younger. And he showed he could. Those last couple of rounds were tough.
Oh.
And he showed he could find something. And he found it. And hopefully he's found what he was looking for. And that's enough.
And he stayed on his feet. And if he hadn't stayed on his feet, he would have lost it by split decision as well. It was incredible, that what we got to praise is what the eyeballs he brought to the sport. James DeGale did it for the rival organisation a couple of weeks earlier up in Manchester. But even you can just tell that the sport's really growing. 180,000 views on the live on talkSPORT, by the way. The 4th biggest live watch-along event on talkSPORT's boxing YouTube channel of the year, behind Conor Benn and Chris Eubank, Beterbiev and Bivol, Usyk and Dubois, and then that event. So it's very interesting that it's drawing numbers, and I think Paulie was very responsible for a lot of that.
He certainly was. We'll end on this one. Kell Brook is coming out of retirement. Obviously, this was a fight that was supposed to be a Ricky Hatton's fight. But Kell Brook will fill in for the late, great Ricky Hatton. I don't know if this is Kell Brook. And look, he's a guy that could eventually have a bare knuckle knock as well. He's got that in him. But Kell Brook, who I believe is 39, will be putting on the shorts again, putting on the gloves and fighting. Kell Brook's always teased he wants to fight. And I almost feel like this is the perfect type of fight for him, as opposed to him having a Eubank Jr. or Conor Benn fight. And, you know, those things have been spoken about. So I'm not mad at this. I love Kell Brook. I think he had a career where it could have been so much more, but it's still a good career. And it's been nice to hear that song, All of the Lights, one more time. I'm happy.
Yeah, I read with interest and intrigue that he's taking this on, and I'm glad that the event is going to go on, and it'll be a big memoriam night again for Ricky Hatton, of course, as the... I can't remember the name of the foundation. I think it's called the Ricky Hatton Foundation. Resonates and grows after his death to help people with mental health issues in their lives. So well done, Cal. Good on you.
Yeah, good on you indeed. Gareth, busy show. We've packed a lot into this, as we always do. You have been listening to Find Out Extra on talkSPORT 2. Big thanks to my main man, Gareth A. Davies, for joining me as always. Remember, look, if you've missed any of this show, you can listen to it as a podcast. You can find it under the Fight Night banner on the talkSPORT app, on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast from. We'll be back talking about, hopefully, a fight of the year in Fabio Wardley against Joseph Parker next week.